Alright, I don't really know how I'm supposed to tackle these because they look kind of big, but hey, that's cool. I didn't know that. Welcome back to Living with a Classic, and we're sitting here in the back of my 1966 S-Type, also known as the 3.8S. And we're doing this intro actually right in the middle of this video. This video is all about getting the interior completely stripped out. In the previous episode, we got the doors off. They're still off, as you can see. So right now I have removed the front seats, which you will see in a little bit. The dash is out. You'll also get to see that in a little bit. And I'm about to take the rear seat out, but if I take a little break, sit down and actually enjoy how comfortable these seats are. They're extremely, extremely comfortable. This is a very, very nice place to be, and I can't wait to sit here again. I mean, the next time I'm going to sit back here is, I don't know how long. It's going to be when this car is done. And I want to say thank you so much to everyone for all the comments on the last video and for understanding that this will be a long project, and you guys seem to be excited to follow along, even if it's going to take, like I said, a year or two to follow along. So yeah, sort of thought this was a little bit memorable thing, knowing that I'm not going to sit back here, or the next time I'm going to sit back here, the car is going to be back together. It's going to be painted. It's going to have no more rust. Hopefully the engine will be in it. It will be quite a different space. So if you're new to my channel and you haven't seen any previous videos on this car, I'll put a link to the playlist up above and down below. It's basically a barn find. It's been sitting since the early to mid 70s, and that's about it. I'm going to do a complete restoration of it, and I think you're going to enjoy the journey. So if you're new and you like this kind of video, I hope that you stick around and consider subscribing. I put new videos every week on cool projects like this 1966 S-Type. Now let's go back in time to when this car is more back together, and you'll see when I start to take the interior out. The car is exactly the same as we left it at the end of the last video, so just the doors are off. I haven't done anything else off camera. Everything else is the same. Only thing I've done is I've set up a bunch of lights for you guys so hopefully you can see a lot better inside the car. I put a light on the tripod over there, a bright LED light. And I put a big LED light up here as well through the sunroof. So I think it'll be really nice and bright in here. You guys should be able to see what I'm doing, hopefully. So the plan is to, well, we're going to take everything out of the car, the interior, the carpets and everything. But I think we're going to start with the dash, just because then I can still sit on these nice comfy seats and not have to sit on the cold floor, which it's you know, starting to be winter here. It's not that warm. I do heat the workshop a little bit. I am going to heat it more later. I'm working on a better heating solution for it, but still, even though it's not that cold in here, things like metal and stuff, it's not good to sit on and get really cold. So starting with the dash, since the last video I have done a little bit of research. I have checked out the manual. I do have this manual for the car, which is pretty good. It's printed sometime in the 70s. I got it from a Facebook group, which is really great. Found two sections on the dashboard in it, and let's see, here is one of them, sort of how to remove the dash. And it seems pretty simple. There seems to be that it's in a couple pieces. So you have the top of it here, or crash roll or dash roll, screen rail I think they call it. That can be removed separately. And then you have the glove box part. You have the speedo and tack. Not pictured here. You have the dials in the middle. And then you have that little tray here that's under there. Seems like all of it can come out separately. And I've looked underneath here as well. You can see there is a metal rail all the way. Steering column seems to be attached to that. So I think the steering column can stay in place and everything else can be removed. However, reading through this, it seems like there is not a big plug. You just unplug like on more modern cars or on the XJs, which I'm more used to working on. When you take the dash out on the XJ, it's really simple. It's just basically a big plug and yeah, a couple of ground straps, but nothing else. And the dash comes out. This seems to be individually wired to every single little switch and dial. So this can be a little bit of a pain. So I've got some masking tape, pen to mark things down. Also got my phone here to take good pictures. And but we're gonna find out when we open it all together. I haven't had this really apart and had a closer look on it. So I'm going to set up the camera on that seat and jump in. We'll start by removing this thing, which is already loose, and then we'll start attacking the dash. Alright, so I'm going to start with this piece here under the dashboard. I believe they called it something like the paper, the newspaper holder in the manual. It's already been disassembled a bit by the previous owner, so all the heater controls I think are disconnected. I think it's basically just laying here. Let's see. Yeah, it's just a cable there. Alright, that was simple. So now we have a bit more access. Just remove this out of the way. And we'll leave the console for now. We'll start on the dash. Step one seems to be to remove this tray here. Yeah, just slid out. I think it's a really neat feature. Not really sure what it's supposed to be used for. It's a map tray or something, but it's very cool at least. We'll put that to the side. Then up here, there's supposed to be 2 thumb screws. One's missing, however, so just got one here on the side. Let's see if I can get. That's really dark in there. You can't really see, but there's a little thumb screw in there. There we go. That's what it looks like. Guess it's a little Bakelite or plastic end and a really long screw. Put that to the side, we don't lose it. And this flips down just like on the Mark II and the E-Type and the Series 1 XJ. You have all the fuses back here, which is quite neat. There seems to be 7 of them. Not that many really at all. And here's the thing where I believe that there isn't a multi-plug. And if someone is more used to these cars than I am, you probably write down in the comments, be like, no, there is a multi-plug, and then I'll find it later. But I think I'm gonna have to take some detailed photos of all of this and yeah, start disconnecting things. That's what it says in the manual. It says disconnect every cable and wire to all the dials and switches, and then there's just 2 screws here on the side to remove all of this. So I'm going to start doing that. Okay, some good progress has been made, even though it looks like a mess. I've been busy labeling everything. I'm using masking tape and numbers, and I've taken tons and tons of pictures. Even the pictures would be enough for me to put this back together, but I'm labeling everything as well. However, I feel limited with space. I'm going to try what happens if I disconnect the 2 screws here, which this whole thing hinges on, or the bolts, one there, one over there. This thing sort of falls down a little bit more and I can reach things more easily. I'm trying to disconnect just a loom at a time and get that out of the way to see what needs to be disconnected to get this thing out of here, because I'm going to leave the wiring in place in the car at the moment at least. Alright, it's loose on this side now. If you're wondering, this is what the screw looks like, or bolt. It's kind of neat. I'm working on this side over here. It's pretty tight. I think I almost have it. Alright, so it's a little looser now. I can at least sort of lean it down like this and see what I'm doing. Now I almost have access to disconnect all the things on the switches. What I did here was I pulled out this thing all the way. It's the light switch. Here's the knob that was on it, so I'll put that back on. There was just a little thing you could push in there on the side with a screwdriver and get that off. Kind of a neat solution. Alright, I'm not going to get that back one-handed, but basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep everything as intact as I can for now. And then see if I can, when everything is out of the car, maybe I can remove the whole loom sort of as a whole and try and keep things like this, which is, I mean, it's not difficult to take notes and put this down, but if everything is connected, there's a bigger chance that I can get this, easily back together. Even if I'm replacing the whole loom, I haven't decided if I'm doing that or not. So far it looks pretty good. The only place that has a little bit of oxidation is right up in there, but most of the loom looks really good. It's just easier to get it back together. So, and also whenever I remove something, just putting it back again, just to make it a lot easier. Remove this, put that back there as well. So next thing now is there are screws in here holding the looms in place. So I'm gonna screw those out, and then I think I can get this part of the loom out and this one as well. See if I can move that out of the way and then easily start disconnecting down here at the switches where there is a lot more cables. This might look like a complete mess, but it's actually labeled really well, and I've taken so many detailed pictures, and I'm gonna print them out and back them up on a hard drive and back them up on a cloud just so I will not lose them. So some things I've labeled individually where it's been more difficult, and then I have matching labels on here. But on certain things where it's just easier to take a picture, like here where there were so many cables, I just said that, okay, this part of the loom is for wipers, this part is for the washer, this part is for fuel, those sort of things. And these are labeled individually, even though I actually don't really think that they make a big difference. I did find this as well. So someone has been in here before, probably in the 70s, since that's the last this car was used. So there's some tape here. It's been disconnected, a big cable here. So I don't think that's original. Something has been changed. I did find one thing which wasn't original, which is the light here for the cigar lighter. I just cut that here, but that was just, you know, wound up onto here. And that's definitely not original. So when all this goes back together, I will have to have a look at the wiring diagram and see how this is supposed to be connected. Otherwise, I just try to keep everything together as much as I could. The bolts here, I taped them on here. And here is the complete panel. So I'm gonna put this somewhere safe, and then we'll move on to the rest of the dash. If you look at this diagram in the manual again, I want to remove the top part of the dash now. Tell in place with in 4 places with nuts, and there seems to be some type of wooden shims or something. So I grabbed an extra light here, and if you have a look up there, there is one of them. There is the other one. The other one I think is in the glove box. Not sure if I can even show you that, but yeah, I can't really show that. Can't really get the camera in there, but oh, up in there, if you can kind of see, there it is. And then there's one over on that side as well. Loosen those up, and this should hopefully just lift off. Okay, I'm on the last nut in here, and then I think this top of the dash should be completely loose. Okay, it's starting to move at least. Nothing, no, nothing here it seems. Okay, it's loose now. It's just sort of stuck on the trim here on the side. So let me see if I can sort of somehow force it out. Just wiggling it gently. The manual doesn't mention anything about having to remove this trim to get the dash top off, so it should work. Alright, we're almost there. There's something connected here. Ah, there's just a little light here. There we go. We got the little wood things here. Let me see if I can find the other little wooden shim that goes on here. We'll put all the nuts back, and once again we'll put this somewhere safe. Move on to the last 2 dash components. So if I've understood the manual correctly, both of these sides, so the glove box side and the Speedo and Tack side, come out in a really similar way. You can see screws here, or bolts. There's 1, 2 there, and then on both sides there's 1. Oh yeah, can't really see it, but yeah, all the way up where my finger is in there. And this should basically come out. And then of course on this side there will be things to disconnect. So yeah, we'll start with the glove box, see how that goes. And then we'll hopefully do the same thing on the other side. Alright, I'm going to start with the bolt under here. Starting to feel a little bit loose in that corner. And then there were some really small ones over here, which I think are maybe 5/16. Let's see. Yep, they are. It's starting to feel really loose now. I am really happy that I kept the seats in until now, because they are really, really comfy to sit on. They don't look maybe that comfy because they're just completely flat, but they're very nice. And yeah, let's see. Alright, we got some more cables here. This for the glove box light, and I think for the switch for the glove box. So I'm just going to disconnect and label those. Alright, so I've done basically the same thing on this side, didn't film that, removed those 3 bolts, and I just disconnected the speedo drive cable by feel back here, and now, well, it's all pretty much loose. I think the only thing holding me back is basically some cables. So, I don't know, I'm going to try start to disconnect things. This is for the, since this wasn't automatic, this was for the speed hold. It seems to be screwed in there, but they're not really going anywhere, those cables. So I've seen those in the engine room. I don't think they're original. So we're gonna move those. That's not hooked up. And yeah, the rest is just lights and a couple of drives here on the tack and speedo. So we'll just disconnect those now and label them. A lot of things were already disconnected over here by a previous owner. So like this, for instance, this loom, I think this goes over here. And this is for the, I think it's the for the gear selector, so you don't start the car in gear, sort of neutral safety switch. At least I think so. This, I think, goes to the blue light on here, which I'm guessing is main beams. Yep. But what's really nice on this side is that a lot of it is these sort of bullet connectors that you'll recognize if you ever worked on any British cars, and I think they're great because you can easily pull them apart, and it's really easy to see where things connect to. It's a lot easier than this lot. So that's great. So this was the signal lights and the gear selector. Lights up there, and then we had the tack over here, and that was basically it. And then yeah, there was the lights over here and a few other things, but this is all disconnected now. And yeah, they look to be in really nice shape. Of course, when we go through the restoration, I'm going to open them up, have a look at them inside, make sure they're not corroded, make sure they work. Gonna be cool to hook up some power to the clock and see if that thing works. I did. It could be hard to do this one-handed, but I did push this thing in, and I saw that at least setting the knob for setting the time seems to work, so that's really neat. So now the dash is completely out. This is as much as I'm going to do for now. I'm probably going to tighten this up a little bit up here and sort of hold it up with cable ties somehow for now. Depending on how the restoration goes, seeing how much rust we find. So I haven't really planned what's happening with the car, if it's going to get, you know, acid dipped, or if it's going to get sandblasted, or what's happening. So if that's happening, of course, all of the loom has to go out. But if I don't find that much rust, because I do think it's mostly cosmetic, and then, you know, most of this loom looks pretty nice, then there's a big chance I'm going to leave it in place. Or if I will replace it, leave it in place till I have a new loom so I can lay them next to each other and just make installation a lot easier. So I will tidy this up later, but now we'll move on to, I think, getting the seats out, then carpets, and then center console. But the nice thing is that the steering rack, even though it's not completely hooked up for some reason, it's still in place, so I can still steer the car. So the next thing I want to do is remove the front seat. They seem to be bolted to the floor in 4 places that I found. 2 of them up front here, you can see one there, and there's an equal one on the other side. But I just, as you can see, I slid the seat forward. It sort of, you know, hinges on this thing here. It's not really like a traditional slider, so it hinges up. So I slid that forward, and then back here, you can now, with the light on, you can see the other 2 points, which I think are that one and that one over there. So I'm going to try loosening that up and seeing if that is the correct way to get these seats out. And they do look rather heavy, I think. Okay, got the other side done. So this is the last one here. Thankfully, they seem to be moving rather nicely. And As I suspect, I don't think this car, at least what I can see from underneath, has a lot of rust in the floors. It's mostly outside the sills, like I showed before. So things seem to be pretty easy to unscrew, actually. Okay, I'm just gonna... Yeah, that's moving, so that's perfect. We'll move to the front now and remove the 2 bolts up there. Move the seat all the way back again, and we have that bolt there, and then sort of obscured by this carpet here, there is one more right there where my finger is in the shadow. So I'm gonna remove those. Let's see if we can lift this out. Got the last bolt here. And just like the ones in the back, they're coming out really nicely. Okay. And in case you're wondering, this is what they look like. So I'll be labeling those up and putting those away. And this seems to be pretty loose now. Alright, I don't really know how I'm supposed to tackle these because they look kind of big, but hey, that's cool. I didn't know that. Alright, so that makes life a lot easier. This just came off. It's always fun when you're working on a model of car that you haven't really worked on before and you find out new things. Alright, so by doing that, I found out that there were 2 more anchor points, here and here. We can have a look at the mechanism a bit closer detail later, but it's pretty interesting actually. I think it sort of works that as you move the seat forward, it goes up as well, which is really cool. And that makes sense. It's really actually, I think it's pretty smart. Because I mean, if you're shorter and you want to reach the pedals, you're a driver, you also want to sit a little bit higher so you can see out as well. So that does seem pretty clever. Okay, there are 2 giant springs here, so I think this part is gonna sort of, spring back a little bit. And, pretty heavy, but not actually as bad as I thought it would be. Alright, I'm just gonna try the same thing on this side. That was really nice. On the XJs, there's a screw down here to move these, to do the exact same thing. I didn't see the screws on these, so I didn't think you could do this, but I'm really happy that I found that out. Just the 2 remaining screws or bolts up here. I don't know why I keep saying screws, but the 2 remaining bolts up here. And look what I just found. It's the other little hand screw for holding the panel in place, and that was missing. So that's really cool. Didn't know I had both of those, so don't need to go hunting on eBay for a spare one. So far this car is proving to be really, really complete. Might be missing some stuff here. I do have a bunch of boxes of things I need to go through. So it's probably there, but as far as what I've found that I'm missing so far is, of course, a gearbox. And I don't have a dipstick for the engine. And I'm missing 1 piece of tiny little chrome on the back that goes to the right of the number plate. But yeah, not a radio. But other than that, I think I actually have pretty much everything for this car, which always helps in any restoration, just that the car is complete. Everything is loose, so. Alright, let's continue the sort of experimental approach to getting the interior out. Probably could have checked in the manual that the seats, that you could split them, but this is a little bit more fun and exciting. So let's see if these seats are kind of like the later XJ seats as well, that you can lift them up. Yeah, alright, perfect. We can get that out, and then we'll have to have a look how this whole, the part that's left is hooked up to the car. Just like on the XJs, there are 2 little loops that go down here and they're screwed in here, but someone's been here before because I found this laying just here. This is the screw. They look exactly the same on the XJs. They go here and hold the seat in. So someone has been here before. I know that the previous owner that had this car for years, he had plans on restoring it. He had restored, I'm not sure if it was 2 or 3 of these before. And he kept this one for last because it was the most complete, untouched one. And I know he said that he took certain things apart. Like, that's why I think the center console is apart and a few other things. He took them apart to see how they were supposed to go back together. And maybe he did the same thing back here. Maybe he took this off to see how it's supposed to look. Because this is really nice, original, solid metal. So I'm going to try just lifting this thing straight up, seeing if it comes out. And then on to the really exciting thing. I'm going to take the carpets out and see if the rest of the car is as nice as it is back here. Let's see if this is just a simple lift up procedure. Okay, it seems to be. Let's do the other side. And that's the last bit of the seats out of the car. Before I try to take the carpets out, because I actually haven't really figured out how they're held in place, but I'll show you that in a little bit. I'm just going to take out the center console here, which is not held in place with anything. I think it's just, I don't know, it's been removed before. So let's take that out. There could be, this appears to be some vacuum lines over here. I don't think it's supposed to be able to come apart this easily. But let's just pull those vacuum lines off for now. There we go. And oh, that kind of looks like the remnants of a mouse nest. And a note or something. Let's flip this over. Alright, we have the remnants of what I believe is a mouse nest in here. It's very, very old though. So that's, well, they found that somewhere. It looks like some kind of hair, so it's probably from inside the seats or something. But I haven't found any other mouse debris, but there's definitely mouse turds around here, and they look to be pretty ancient. And then there is a note card that's been chewed on with what looks like an address. I'm not sure if you can see them there. Looks like some, I'm really bad at reading cursive handwritings, but some address, level 7 at least, so that's interesting. Okay, throw away the mouse nest, and then we'll see if we can get the carpets out. So I vacuumed out all those old ancient mouse turds. Didn't take everything because I still have some bolts and things just laying there, which are not from me. They're just bolts that are in the car. I want to collect them and see if I can figure out where they go. And I started to attack the carpets, but as I did that, I noticed this thing here. The seat belts are bolted through the floor, through the carpets, and they're pretty badly corroded. It's the only sort of corrosion I can see. So I haven't even attempted to move those. I'm going to go underneath, spray them with penetrating fluid, and I'll have to remove those in a future episode because I want to get those out. But I did get the carpet up here so we can have a look at the floor like I promised, and it is extremely solid from up here as well. I have gone under the car and knocked everywhere underneath. It seems to be really, really solid. So floors are great in this car, and can't really see that much of the inner sill, but I mean, it's still there, and I don't know, we'll lift it through the carpet, but I think when we get everything out in a future episode, we'll see that this car is actually pretty solid. And that's it for this video. I felt like I got a lot done. The car is basically ready to be moved down to the other storage place because it's pretty light now, I think, and the rest of the things can be taken off there. It's just some light fixtures and, you know, the carpets and stuff, and I can remove that down there without any problem. So I'm not really sure if the next video will be filmed up here or if it will be when the car is down in its new home. It all really depends on the weather. It rains pretty much every single day here at the moment, so as soon as I have a day off where there is no rain for a couple hours and I'm able to have someone help me out, I will move the car down to its new home where most of the restoration is gonna take place. So anyways, if you want to see more on this car, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, hit that bell notification, and you will get an update as soon as anything happens. You can also follow me on Instagram if you want to see any behind the scenes things, because sometimes I post some extra things on there that I don't show in any videos. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and until next time, I'm Adam, this was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.